It is hard. And I think what makes it really hard, though, is most people's ecclesiology is just not biblical. Most people think that the pastor's supposed to do everything. Every time there's someone in the hospital, the pastor goes. Now, forget the fact that there's deacons and lay people to do that. Every time the grass needs to be mowed, the pastor's supposed to do it. The poor guy that followed me at my church, they put his personal phone number on the glass front doors of the church. Call 24 hours a day. Oh, wow. And you get this concept of a church that isn't biblical at all. And most pastors just don't have time for it. So there's really a whole lot of issues involved in this particular discussion. But to take it back to your original point, when you get up and preach, and if you understand that these are the words of God, and your job is to declare the words of God, truth through personality, through your own experiences, then you better have done your homework to know what those things are, and your church better be letting you do your homework. You talked about, pastors say, well, the Greek says this, the Greek says that. This is one of my pet peeves, and I've told thousands of Greek students this over the last 30 years. Don't ever say that. Don't ever say it, because what you're doing, either intentionally or unintentionally, you're putting yourself up as an authority, because most people in the church can't check. And what you're saying, well, I know Greek, and so you have to believe what I'm saying. And there's all kinds of ways to say, now, when Paul wrote this, he said, or something like that. Or if you want to disagree with the translation, find another one that gets it right in your opinion. But I remember when I was in seminary, I went to a very large evangelical church and enjoyed the church. And the first Sunday, the pastor said, well, the Greek said this. And I looked down, I went, no, it doesn't. Next Sunday, the pastor said, well, the Greek says this. No, it doesn't. I did it for 6 weeks and I stopped going to the church because he didn't have a clue what he was talking about, but he was holding himself up as an authority. So there's all kinds of problems that people can get into. But if you are committed to knowing God's word, and if your church has made the commitment for you to be a biblical preacher, which takes time, then actually getting into the words is critical. I often think of, has anyone ever seen a master's program in German literature where they didn't have to know German? Well, English, I mean, the people in those fields just laugh. Of course not. If you're going to do a master's in German literature, you need to know German. A master's in Chinese literature, you have to know Chinese. It's just kind of like, no duh. But when we come to the Bible, there's this seminaries are dropping Greek requirements all over the place. And you go, how are they going to be a herald of the king if they can't read what the king is saying? Right. And then along with that, then if you don't know the Greek, then what you don't know are how to read the good commentaries. And you don't know how to do Greek word studies. And you don't know how to explain why the verse you're preaching on is totally different in 3 different translations. And so, the ramifications of having at least a functional knowledge of Greek really trickles down into many different things.